Imagine falling into darkness, literally and figuratively. One step and your life spirals out of control. A voice from the shadows, whispers that send chills down your spine, and a choice that leaves no way out. Thought it couldn't get worse? Trust me, it only goes deeper from here. So here's the deal. My name's Jason Hart. I'm 29, and yeah, I'm a cop. Before you roll your eyes, let me paint the picture. I wasn't just any cop. I was the guy who knew how to bend the rules just enough to keep things interesting. Speeding ticket? Sure, but only if you didn't smile right. A broken taillight? Let's just say some people got more warnings than others. Life was good, and honestly, I thought I had it all figured out. Until, well, let me take you back to the beginning. It was one of those days where the air felt too thick, like the world was holding its breath. I was patrolling the east side of town, the kind of neighborhood where the houses look tired, the sidewalks are cracked, and every corner store has a no loitering sign slapped on the door. My car was my throne, the streets my kingdom, or so I thought. That's when I spotted her. A black SUV with a dented bumper, rolling just a bit too slow for my taste. Suspicious, I muttered, pulling behind her. Don't ask me why I thought it was worth checking out. It was probably just boredom. But hey, a cop's got a cop, right? I hit the lights. The SUV pulled over near a bus stop. Inside was a young woman, late 20s, dark skin glowing under the harsh afternoon sun, and a kid in the back seat with a backpack bigger than him. The mom looked tired, like really tired. Not the kind you get from a bad night's sleep, but the kind life dumps on you when it thinks you're too strong to break. I stepped out of my car, chest puffed like I was auditioning for a reality show. License and registration, I said, leaning on her window. She handed it over without a word. Do you know why I pulled you over? I asked, even though I didn't know myself. No, officer, she replied, her voice steady, but her eyes... Oh, her eyes were burning holes through my soul. That look said, I don't have time for this nonsense, but here we are. I scanned her paperwork. Everything was legit. No expired tags, no warrants, no reason to keep her. But I wasn't done playing king of the street just yet. Your taillight looks dim, I said. It wasn't. Might want to get that checked. She sighed, a long, deep sigh that practically screamed, Really? Thank you, officer, she said, her tone clipped. And that's when I saw it, her phone. She was recording me. Ma'am, I said, straightening up, is there a reason you're filming this interaction? Yes, she said, meeting my eyes. For my safety. Boom. Just like that, my ego deflated faster than a popped balloon. For a second, I wanted to laugh. Safety? From me? I'm the good guy here. But the camera? That thing was a loaded gun pointed right at my career. Ma'am, I need you to stop recording, I said, my voice firm. I have every right to film this, she shot back. The kid in the back shifted nervously, his big brown eyes darting between us. Tension hung in the air like a storm cloud. I could feel my palms sweating. Was this really happening? A part of me wanted to let her go and move on. But my pride? Oh, my pride wasn't about to back down. I called for backup, spinning the story just enough to make it sound like she was resisting. Within minutes, another patrol car pulled up. They cuffed her while her son cried in the back seat. She kept her chin up the whole time, even as we loaded her into the car. That phone of hers? It fell to the ground, still recording. I drove off feeling triumphant, like I'd just scored the winning touchdown. Little did I know, that video would be online before I even got back to the station. And the world? Oh, it was about to flip upside down. All right, so fast forward a few hours after the whole recording incident blew up. I was sitting in the precinct, feet on my desk, pretending I wasn't checking my phone every 5 minutes. Yeah, I knew the video had gone viral. Everyone did. My fellow officers kept throwing me side eyes like I'd just brought a raccoon to the station and called it my partner. My boss, Captain Reynolds, stormed out of his office. This guy was all business, the kind of man who could silence a room with just a look. Hart, he barked. My office now. I dragged myself up like a kid being called to the principal's office. As soon as the door shut behind me, Reynolds let loose. "What in the world were you thinking, Hart?" he said, pacing back and forth. "That video is everywhere. Do you have any idea how bad this looks?" "Cap, she was resisting," I defended myself, trying to sound cool. "I had to—" "Don't," he interrupted, pointing a finger at me. "Don't even try. You're suspended, effective immediately." "Suspended?" I said, my voice jumping an octave. "For what? Doing my job?" "No," he snapped, "for making us look like fools." I left the office fuming. Suspended? For what? Some viral video? As if the internet knows anything about the real world. I needed to cool off, so I did what any sensible person would do. I jumped in my car and hit the road. I drove aimlessly, muttering under my breath about how unfair life was. The city eventually faded into the rearview mirror, replaced by long, empty roads and overgrown fields. It was peaceful, in a creepy, middle-of-nowhere kind of way. Then, out of nowhere, a dog darted onto the road. Instinct kicked in, and I swerved hard to avoid it. My car spun, tires screeching, until, bam, I slammed into a rusted guardrail. "Great, just great," I muttered, slamming the steering wheel. The dog, of course, was fine. It trotted off like nothing had happened. I got out to survey the damage. My bumper was toast, but the car was still drivable. As I turned to get back in, the ground beneath me gave way. 1 second, I was standing on solid dirt, and the next, I was falling into darkness. I landed hard. The wind knocked out of me. For a moment, all I could hear was my own breathing and the distant echo of dirt crumbling above. My flashlight, thankfully still clipped to my belt, flickered to life, illuminating the space around me. It wasn't pretty. The walls were jagged and damp, and the air smelled like mildew mixed with regret. I realized I'd fallen into some kind of old mine shaft. Awesome, just what I needed. I tried climbing out, but the walls were too steep. My radio, dead, cell phone, no signal. It was just me, the flashlight, and the growing realization that I was, quite literally, stuck in a hole. As I sat there, weighing my options, I heard it. A faint shuffling sound from deeper within the shaft. My flashlight flickered again, casting dancing shadows on the walls. "Hello?" I called out, my voice echoing. No answer, just more shuffling. My pulse quickened. This wasn't some animal. Whatever it was, it moved with purpose. "Okay, Jason," I muttered to myself. "Stay calm. It's probably just the wind, or a raccoon, a really big raccoon." I decided to investigate, mostly because sitting still wasn't an option. As I moved deeper into the shaft, the air grew colder. The flashlight's beam caught something shiny, a piece of metal sticking out of the dirt. I crouched to examine it and realized it was an old pickaxe, rusted but still sharp. "Great," I said, picking it up. "At least I've got a weapon against whatever's out here." The shuffling sound grew louder, closer. My heart pounded as I swung the flashlight around, searching for the source. And then I saw him. A figure slouched against the wall. At first, I thought he was dead. His clothes were ragged, his skin pale, and his head hung low. But then he stirred, lifting his head to reveal piercing, bloodshot eyes. "Well," he croaked, his voice raspy, "looks like you've joined the party. If I told you I wasn't freaking out, I'd be lying. I mean, who wouldn't lose it when they're trapped in a creepy, forgotten mineshaft with a stranger who looks like he walked straight out of a zombie movie? But hey, I'm Jason Hart, and if there's one thing I'm good at, it's pretending I've got it all under control." Who are you?" I stammered, trying to sound more confident than I felt. The guy tilted his head, his bloodshot eyes locked onto mine like he was sizing me up. "Name's Lester," he said, his voice dry like sandpaper. "And you?" "Let me guess. City boy. Probably thought you owned the road until it swallowed you up." "Jason," I said, gripping the rusted pickaxe tighter. "And I didn't get swallowed. It was an accident." Lester chuckled, a low, guttural sound that echoed off the damp walls. "Sure, whatever helps you sleep at night." I stepped closer, keeping the flashlight steady on him. His clothes were caked in dirt, and his hands trembled like he'd been down here way too long. "How long have you been here?" I asked. "Long enough," he replied cryptically. "Long enough to know this place doesn't let you go without a fight." Okay, so now I was officially creeped out. "What does that even mean?" I demanded. He didn't answer. Instead, he pointed a bony finger toward the darkness behind him. "You hear that?" At first, I thought he was messing with me, but then I heard it. A faint whispering sound, like voices carried by the wind. It was subtle, barely audible, but it was there. My grip on the pickaxe tightened as I scanned the shadows. "What is that?" I whispered. "Depends," Lester said, leaning back against the wall. "Some say it's the spirits of the miners who never made it out. Others think it's just the mine playing tricks on your mind. Either way, you'll find out soon enough." "Spirits? Seriously?" I scoffed, trying to mask my unease. "Come on, man, that's just some old ghost story." Lester's eyes narrowed. "Believe what you want, city boy. But if you're smart, you'll stick close to me. This place, it's alive in ways you don't want to understand." Great. Not only was I stuck in a hole, but now I had to deal with a guy who thought the walls could talk. Still, something about the way he said it sent a chill down my spine. I wasn't about to admit it, though. "Fine," I said, "but if you're leading me deeper into this place, you better know the way out." Lester smirked, pushing himself to his feet. "I know the way. Question is, do you have the guts to follow?" We started moving, my flashlight cutting through the suffocating darkness. The whispers grew louder as we went, their eerie tones swirling around us like a ghostly symphony. I tried to focus on the ground ahead, but every so often I'd catch movement out of the corner of my eye. Shadows shifting, shapes darting just out of sight. "Stay close," Lester warned. "They don't like it when you wander." "Who's they?" I snapped, my patience wearing thin. "You'll see," he said, his voice grim. As we walked, the air grew colder and the walls seemed to close in around us. My breathing quickened, each step feeling heavier than the last. Then, out of nowhere, the ground beneath me shifted. I stumbled, nearly dropping the flashlight. "Watch your step," Lester called back. "This place likes to test you." "Test me?" I muttered under my breath. "What is this, some kind of horror movie?" "Something like that," he said, not bothering to look back. We reached a fork in the path, 2 tunnels stretching into oblivion. Lester stopped, his eyes narrowing as he studied the options. "Left or right?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he crouched down, running his fingers along the dirt like he could read it. Finally, he stood and pointed to the left. "That way," he said. "How do you know?" I challenged, my skepticism flaring up again. "I don't," he admitted, "but it feels quieter." "Quieter," I repeated, incredulous. "That's your expert opinion?" "Got a better idea, city boy?" He shot back. With no other options, I followed him down the left tunnel. The whispers faded, replaced by an unsettling silence. It was almost worse than the noise. My flashlight flickered, and for a brief moment, the darkness swallowed us whole. "Hey!" I called out, panic creeping into my voice. "Flashlight's dying!" "Keep moving," Lester said. "We're almost there." "Almost where?" I demanded, but he didn't answer. Just as my flashlight came back to life, I saw it. A massive, rusted door embedded in the rock. Symbols were etched into the metal, their meanings as cryptic as Lester himself. "What is this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Lester turned to me, his expression unreadable. "This," he said, "is where you prove whether you belong here or not." How would you have reacted if you were in Jason's shoes? Would you have trusted Lester or taken a different path? Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you or someone you know ever faced a situation where trust and instincts were put to the ultimate test? Don't forget to like this story if it kept you on the edge of your seat. This story was crafted to shed light on important issues and start conversations that matter. Together, we can make the world a better place, one story at a time. Your voice matters, so let us know what you think below.